I'm sick and tired of this stuff where if you're a left-wing woman and you hate Trump and you say something, you're to be believed and all the rest of us have to shut up. I'm not going to shut up. Unfortunately, and I say this with great trepidation and disgust, all these cases against Trump with all these Democrat prosecutors, all these Democrat judges, these Democrat grand juries, these Democrat juries, I don't see how he escapes them, given what we've seen taking place in New York. And this is obviously intended by the Democrat Party. They couldn't take him out politically. He's here on a comeback. He's leading the Republicans, at least right now. And they're throwing everything they have at him, civilly, criminally, in dark blue cities where he receives 7%, 8%, 9% of the vote, and simply does not have a fair chance at justice of any kind. Now, we have this case in New York where a woman, Jean Carroll, I think her name is, decides after 27 years that she wants to bring a rape case against Trump, a civil rape case. And it just so happens that the governor of New York, a hardcore Democrat, Hochul, and the Democrat legislature, it's overwhelmingly Democrat, they pass a law, she signs it, that basically breathes life back into these kinds of cases for 1 year. Basically, it's the Trump law. Because after 27 years in most states, that's it. You don't, you have a statute of limitations, but this extended it. And this particular plaintiff was unaware of all that until she was at a resistance party, an ever-Trumper party, with, among others, George Conway. But George Conway was Kellyanne Conway's husband, had worked on the Trump campaign, wanted a big job at the Department of Justice, didn't get it, and so turned on Trump. He's part of the Lincoln Project. So he advised her, you should get a lawyer and bring a lawsuit under this new law that was extended. So it didn't occur to her to see a lawyer after 25 years, so she decides to see a lawyer, and that's how this all comes to be. Another person attending that event was a Democrat billionaire donor, part of the Trump-hating crowd, and he helped finance her representation. So that's what you have going in, which is really quite remarkable. Then you have a Democrat judge, of course, and a Democrat jury. And here's President Trump responding to the decision of the jury. Now, interesting, the plaintiff accused President Trump of rape. The jury refused to find President Trump guilty of rape. Instead, they found him guilty of sexual battery and defamation. And I want to address this later because nobody's going to tell you what I am going to explain to you. And I explained it to one of the lawyers the other day on radio, and he said, wow, I hadn't even thought of that, but I have, so stick with me. Go.
I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. Absolutely a shame. What else can you expect from a Trump-hating, Clinton-appointed judge who went out of his way to make sure that the result of this trial was as negative as it could possibly be, speaking to and in control of a jury from an anti-Trump area, which is probably the worst place in the United States for me to get a fair trial. We'll be appealing this decision. It's a disgrace. I don't even know who this woman is. I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff. We cannot let our country go into this abyss. This is disgraceful. You have somebody running for office. You have a woman that's financed and lied about it. She totally lied about it by Democrat operatives, like just about the biggest one there is. And she said that wasn't true. They found that she lied about it, and the judge wasn't even, I guess, letting it be put in as evidence. The whole thing is a scam.
During her deposition, what he's talking about, she was asked, essentially if she ever talked to somebody like George Conway. And during her deposition, she said no. She decided on her own to go see a lawyer. Later, they realized that Trump's lawyers were aware of this and would use it during the trial. And they sent a letter correcting the record. I guess she signed an affidavit. Oh, now I remember, yes, I spoke to. And this billionaire funding it, are you paying for your own lawyers? She said yes. Well, then again, they needed to correct that because the billionaire was involved. This just tells you what kind of situation we're dealing with here. I believe him 100%. If I didn't believe him, even though he's a friend of mine, I would tell you I don't believe him. I believe him. I can see it on his face. I can see we've got to fix this sort of thing. I also see what's taking place on the other side here, that this thing was really pushed hard by the Never-Trumpers and so forth in 2019. She also had it in her book, never mentioned it before, as Byron York wrote in the Washington Examiner. It's the first time she mentions it publicly, is in the book, and she uses it to promote and sell the book. She writes columns. She never mentioned it in a column. So it's not that she was afraid to come forward. It's the timing that's in question about how she came forward. And there are very serious problems with this case. The judge lets in the Access Hollywood tape. The Access Hollywood tape has nothing to do with this case. So if you have a bunch of jurors who are hostile to Trump in the first place, given the location of this case, the Access Hollywood tape is like the best thing you could show for the plaintiff and the worst thing you could show for Trump. And it was a joke, a sick joke, a bad joke, but it was a joke having nothing to do with any facts or any realities whatsoever. They just put it in there. And then there were two witnesses, women who claimed that Trump had abused them at some point, who were never vetted. And I had a lawyer say to me, well, maybe they should have been deposed before the trial. That doesn't work. What, are you going to have a mini trial on these two women to see if their integrity is right, to see if they're telling the truth, if they're guilty, if Trump is guilty or innocent? How would you even do that during the course of a trial? You can't. Which is why that kind of information's not permitted in a trial. Hey, he did that to me. Hey, you know what else he did? It doesn't matter. You're looking at a specific case with specific facts. And so without the Hollywood tape, the Access Hollywood, without those two women I spoke about, what do they have? They have her word. And her word is problematic under the circumstances. But over there at MSLSD, the morning schmo, Mrs. Schmo, of course, we know where they're coming down. Go.
Here are some of the Republicans that you were talking about responding. Take a look.
Yeah, I think the New York legal system's off the rails when it comes to Donald Trump.
What's happening in some of these courtrooms in Manhattan, I don't even know. I'm not going to get into it.
It's a jury of his peers finding him.
Come on, man. Serious? Don't say that stuff to me. That might work for somebody else. That definitely don't work for me. Jury of my peers? Yeah, whatever. What else you got?
I mean, that's pretty much it. This is a sexual abuse conviction, basically.
It's an allegation from, what, 25 years ago?
Okay, so this is the problem with these Republicans. This is the sickness that you're talking about, that Trump has coursed through the veins of American society and our politics, especially our politics. And I just want to take a moment to put up on a platform and say thank you to E. Jean Carroll for having the guts so many years later, with so much against her, to take this case on and to push it and to take that opportunity when the window opened in the law for her to file this civil lawsuit.
This is so disgusting, this sanctimony from this ignoramus, and the fool sitting next to her. He's had allegations made against him. What does he think? Which are in many ways are preposterous allegations. But nonetheless, this is so outrageous. A complete lack of due process, what took place in that courtroom in terms of the law, in terms of the litigation process. You can't even raise questions about it. You can't even raise questions about it. And I'm sick and tired of this stuff where if you're a left-wing woman and you hate Trump and you say something, you're to be believed, and all the rest of us have to shut up. I'm not going to shut up.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.